Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here again after more than a year. I attended the 2023 WCARS, and I have a question for everyone. I've noticed that a certain topic from 2023 is not yet present at this conference, or very, I don't know. What happened to ESG? In 2023, first day, I think half of the presentations were about ESG. And this year, nothing. So focus seemed to change a lot. But now we have agentic AI, so I'm obviously in a trend with the topic. Okay, it works. Okay. So my presentation is about an ongoing work with my colleagues, Maura and Simona. And Simona works with systemic risk in banking. She's very knowledgeable about that. And earlier this year, she showed me a paper by Mr. Correa from the Federal Reserve. The paper was published in 2021, and they showed how sentiment in central bank reports deteriorates just prior to banking crisis. And she said, look, this is a wonderful paper. Maybe we could work something in that direction. I've checked the paper, and it is a very nice paper. But I told her, look, this paper, with all due respect, uses kind of old methods in assessing the sentiment. Basically, they were they were building they built an sentiment index, and they were counting positive and negative words. So we discussed, and we thought that we could use agentic AI to build a better system than the one proposed by these authors. And we checked the literature and everything, and came to the conclusion that it might come something very useful and nice. So the idea is to have an auditable multi-agent LLM because the LLMs have the power to unlock nuance in text, including irony and optimism. Of course, in the we use as data, we use the earning calls. They shouldn't have irony in earning calls, but it happens. So the thing is to have something traceable, to have something auditable in terms of sentiment, and to have the power or the functionality to show anyone interested how we got that sentiment. So we built like 5 for now agents. The first one is the retriever that gets the PDFs and extracts some parts out of it. Then the summarizer to make the statements a bit shorter, the facet classifier, which um, tries to classify the text based on different topics. Then the scorer, which assigns the sentiment and the intensity. And the last one is the auditor, verifying the other steps and making sure that the sentiment is correctly associated with a certain facet. We checked several papers from the literature. We started with the, let's say, more classical ones that are fundamental in this area, and also the more recent ones, the post 2023 papers. Some of them use RAG, some of them use the LLM sentiment for trading. Um, Another one evaluates the LLM's reasoning capabilities in financial sentiment and discusses the challenges. The last one from 2025 is I found it to be very interesting because uses LLM agents and compares them to the more specialized methods, specialized deep learning models in evaluating sentiments in financial sentiment. And they show that as the LLMs evolved, there is no more need for specialized models because apparently the newer LLMs have the capabilities of assessing the sentiment in financial context. Our pipeline involves the input layer, which is made by financial transcripts, earning calls, with the management presentation at the beginning and then the Q&As. The retriever is built using two layers, a regex layer and an LLM layer. What's interesting here is that so far we couldn't make the LLM to properly separate and structure the text, and we still need the regex because at some point, not always, but at some point, the LLM tried to do more than it was supposed to do, and the final result was not structured according to what we want, presentation plus Q&A. Then the summarizer, we thought that for cost reasons and rapidity to have a summary of the text, but it didn't go necessarily well because again the LLM, when summarizing, sometimes changed the context, the sentiment. It changed the original meaning of in terms of sentiment. So right now the summarizer is not doing too much, just eliminating some redundant text from the file. The facet classifier has the task to detect which financial facets are discussed in each text. I will show you in a moment the facets. The scorer, as I mentioned, evaluates the tone for each financial facet and outputs a JSON that has the polarity and the intensity, and also extracts the relevant text and puts it in a database, so the sentiment gets it will be from this point on, it will be traceable if someone wants to look uh, how the sentiment was associated with a certain text. And then the other auditor verifies the consistency, the polarity, and everything, and flags for anomalies. And when some anomalies happen, it will go another loop by the other agents until no more anomalies are detected. The next one, which was not yet developed, is the financial analyzer. The financial analyzer should compute the changes in sentiment and calculate abnormal returns and other connections with the financial data. Now about the facet design. These facets were built to ensure that the sentiment is analyzed according to economically meaningful dimensions. We chose a framework used in banking um, for the examinations of the banks by the Federal Reserve and in Europe under the Basel regulations. So these facets combined with evidence from the literature review were assigned to each of the of these pillars: capital, asset quality, management, earnings, liquidity, and sensitivity to market risk. From these six pillars, the most important are the liquidity and the capital. The banks have the stress tests every 6 months. Well, the large banks have this kind of stress test based especially on these two pillars. The sample we used consists of 168 publicly listed banks. They are the large banks with total assets exceeding $100 billion. 29 of the banks are identified as the global systemically important banks according to the Financial Stability Board, which means they are significant around the world. And the others are nationally significant banks, so they are regularly included in stress testing. Analysis will be based on consolidated bank level data when we'll get to that point. So far, only the text processing part is done. And the sample is, the sample period is from Q4 2019 to Q2 2025. I have an example here how a text goes from the raw status to a sentiment. So I don't know if you can read it. It says like this: it's nice if you think about the environment that we are going into, notwithstanding the strength of the economy, the volatility of kind of what comes in an election year. I think having a lot of capital and being able to generate a lot of capital is a really good thing. So it's a phrase that covers several opinions and several topics. the the system as it is identified two facets, the macro and FX, which is with red, and with the blue, the capital and buffers, and assigned a sentiment for the macro, assigned a rather strong negative sentiment of -2. The sentiment goes from -3 to +3, and it showed that the volatility that comes in an election year is negative sentiment. And yeah, we can agree with that. And the other one, that having a lot of capital is really good things, that's more easy to agree with, and is more obvious. And the evidence was extracted from the text and associated in the database with the sentiment, so it can get traced later. Now some preliminary results. This is about how the facet were mentioned in each document. So we can see that the asset quality, the capital, and liquidity are the most mentioned topics. I don't know if this is a coincidence that the stress test is done on capital and liquidity. So probably it's not a coincidence. This one is the average sentiment score by facet. Some of them are with a high positive score, and the macro and FX has a negative score. But I have to mention that these results are based only on the period from 2019 to 2020, and that's why the negative sentiment of macro, because it was the period with the COVID, and this is shown better in the next slide. The average sentiment over time with blue is the sentiment obtained from the presentations. It got from fairly positive to neutral at Q2 in 2020, while the Q&A dropped one quarter earlier. It dropped more. And then it again, the optimism was already high at the end of 2020 for the management. But this slide is with the asset quality and non-performing loans, and we can see that in the middle of 2020, the sentiment got very negative from the management's viewpoint, and then after they, after they had more COVID information, then it got again positive. But it shows, and it's plausible that the management were very influenced by the COVID crisis, and this was reported in their management presentation. This is the correlation between sentiments of presentation and Q&A, and again we see that from very strong correlation, it drops to a negative one in 2020, and then gets back better. So these are only intermediate results, so maybe we will observe some more interesting results after we run the entire sample and for the entire period. We'll see that. Some of the challenges we had come from inconsistent transcript formats because the sample was from different countries. It was not only US or European banks, and especially from some banks from Asia. They were in a rather different format, even if the source of the data was the same, and it was supposed to be structured in the same way. The thing with the summary, which I already discussed, that by doing a summary, there is a risk of losing the context. Some overlapping facets. This means that some of these facets can be multi-labeled classified because the text can refer to multiple facets. The evidence was trimmed to less than 25 words just to work faster. And there is a lot of speaker attribution noise. The Q&As are very noisy. The next step should go like this. We will link facet level tone with more information from the financial outcomes. We should extend the pipeline for local languages and include a special agent for translations. Try how it works with multiple LLM families. We only used, I forgot to mention this earlier, we only used GPT-5 Nano and GPT-5 Mini. And it took a lot of time to process everything. It was not expensive, it was cheap, but it took a lot of time. And we also used the batch option. So this is an even cheaper format. The goal will be to have sort of a dashboard with all these information, and have a system that can be run on a large scale, and to have it public and hopefully useful for all kind of institutions. How much time do I have?